the fascinating thing is that the more you learn about a topic, even one that you think you know a lot about already, the more you realise you don't know, and the more the kind of the smaller the little niches and the nooks and crannies that you can kind of get into and sink your teeth into. It's really, really good fun.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always different things that you didn't know about before. I think that's one of the best things about history.
Endless. I mean, you could go forever, and I'm sure there are wonderful, the Bruce Cattons and the Shelby Foots and all the C. Van Woodwards of this world who are the great Civil War experts. I'm sure they had moments where they thought, hang on, what? Didn't know that. So it's just, I mean, Shelby Foote himself, an extraordinary man. He wrote what's considered to be the definitive kind of narrative history of the war, which is just called the Civil War, and it's 3 volumes of about 1,000 pages each.
Wow.
And those are big pages with small text as well. It is absolutely enormous. I've got it as a kind of trophy almost on my shelf, but there's no way in hell I'm ever reading the whole thing.
I want to know the word count of that book.
Yeah, exactly. Funny, just quickly, a funny story on that. My dad's godfather recently passed away, a man called Willis Whichard, who was a Supreme Court justice in North Carolina, so a state Supreme Court justice, not a federal one. But he was a very well-connected man, knew lots of people. There's a fabulous picture of him shaking Clinton's hand back in the day that he used to be very proud of. But he loved Shelby Foote's history, and he had a first edition copy of it, a beautiful first edition copy, which I was very envious of. And he always used to tell the story that Shelby was a Mississippi man, kind of gruff, slightly very charming, but not all that sociable Southerner, and he really didn't like signing. He wouldn't sign copies of his books. He thought it was a waste of time, and he wouldn't do it. But my Willis Whichard, my dad's godfather, was very, very pleased with himself because he managed to persuade Shelby Foote to sign a copy for him. So he would, this among all the other things he would sort of proudly show you. He once took me and my dad tramping around Raleigh, North Carolina, in the sweltering August heat to see all of the portraits of him in all the various courthouses. So, and he was very spry, kind of sprightly. Even then, I mean, he must have been at least 70 then, and he was kind of pacing along and very energetically, and we were kind of panting and wheezing behind him, trying to keep up. As he tracked us from one courthouse to another. A wonderful man, a real eccentric. But he himself, I believe his grandson, a guy called Chamberlain, was a real sort of Civil War kind of nerd. Absolutely knows it inside out. And so he once made the mistake of saying to Chamberlain, who was then 13 years old, he said to him, "Oh, there's this book by a guy called Shelby Foote, and it's very long." And no doubt he would have told him the story about how he managed to get Shelby to sign it for him. And Chamberlain looked back at him and said, "Oh yes, Grandpa, I've read it 3 times." And you thought, "Oh my God, this 13-year-old has read the entirety of Shelby Foote, all 3,000 pages of it 3 times." And he would. My dad tells a funny story that they went to Gettysburg together, the 3 of them, and for a tour. And the poor old tour guide got more than he bargained for, because Chamberlain, every time he opened his mouth, Chamberlain would correct him very pointedly, about the various things he was getting wrong. As if this poor tour guide had to.
He was about to take his job.
Pride. Yeah, his pride suffered a little bit there, but I think he managed to get through it. Anyway, but no, Shelby Foote's wonderful, and if you watch, as I hope you will, Ken Burns' Civil War documentary, Shelby Foote is one of the leading kind of talking heads in that, and there is, I think, as an extra on the DVD, on the remaster of the DVD, which I may invest in. I have a very old kind of crackly copy of it. But that has its own sort of charms, a bit like sort of vinyl records versus tidied up digital. There is that you can see. I think it's on YouTube as well. Just the full unedited interview with Shelby Foote, and it is worth what. If you don't watch anything else of it, it's worth watching that, because he's just such a charming, fascinating guy, and he has all the stories at the tip of his tongue. But anyway, I digress.